Back here, this is the, well, if you're used to a AK instead of an SKS, this is the dust cover, and it's still the dust cover on this. But when it comes to adding a scope mount there, when it's an AK, it's just a thin piece of aluminum, and it's said to not hold zero very well. I wonder how true that is compared to how accurate we really are trying to get with a 100-yard, maybe AK. But on the SKS, it is definitely milled, and it is thicker, and it is a much more stable type mount. It may be too far back for the scope, but when it comes to aftermarket scopes, people put them here. It has a pick rail automatically on it, and I bet it's more stable than an AK, at least, because it's milled and thick. The other more preferable place is up here on the gas piston tube, and that is probably where I would recommend, if you absolutely must scope one of these, that's where you do it. You can also buy a complete upper gas piston pull mount that has the piston, the mount, and the rail all in one, so you can leave everything original and take it off. Some people have trouble getting the wood off of here on the top. That would not be a problem at all. The safety, there's a safety, it's basically shaped just like the trigger. You guys can't see it on the video right now. It's curved right back here, and it goes up, and it physically blocks the safety from going back. This particular firearm is a Century International Arms firearm. It was done at the Zastava factory. I've heard good things about Zastava. I've seen other Zastava firearms, and I've heard a lot of bad things about Century, or hit or miss about Century. And I have to admit, the good along with the bad. My safety right here came from the factory, broken, and it missed my firearms dealer being broken, looking at everything else at it, saying, what a beautiful firearm. It missed my, should have been third check looking, me, but it was actually broken and the safety on position and kind of fused shut. I have to admit that I'm glad my firearms dealer is or are who they are, and they didn't tell me something like send it back to Century. They told me to come out to their house, basically in grandma's basement, and they fixed it for me right then and there. While we're at it, even with the fix, all the numbers on this, it's a numbers matching SKS. I think that's pretty important. You shouldn't really have to bother with a non-numbers matching SKS. There's numbers all over it. They should all match. The safety made me wonder about the trigger. Basically, there's a floating firing pin in these, which is a complaint of people. If you've heard of slam fire, as long as you keep it clean, and when you clean it, you can hear the pin rattling back and forth with your own just manipulation. There is an aftermarket spring tensioner that you can put in it to take care of that. So you can absolutely never have to worry about it. I personally don't worry about it too much. As long as it's clean and you can hear it moving freely, then you should have nothing to worry about. But the trigger itself is not a great trigger. It is kind of crunchy, kind of long. It's just not the greatest trigger. If you're used to like an AK, Tapco, G2, whether it be a single hook or double hook trigger, those are really good triggers, and there's a reason why people say that they're so good. This is just a little bit rougher, a little bit crunchier. It originally comes with a 10 round magazine. I think you get 10 plus 1, kind of like this. I would warn you all, when you get these firearms, they're covered in cosmoline usually. And one way I saw on the internet to clean it off was with Windex. And I promise you all, do not use Windex on your firearms, any kind, even these old Russian surpluses covered with cosmoline. Do not use Windex. It will dull the finish. Luckily, I was just smart enough to try it on the part that I knew that I was going to replace right away. And I did not use it on the rest of the firearm. I knew that I was going to replace it with this 30 round all metal mag. And the only difference between this and an AK mag is this extra, they call it a duck bill right here. So it sticks out a little more, it's a little more annoying, but basically not a whole lot different than an AK mag. You can also get a 75 round drum for this. Talk about heck of a lot of firepower. Um, Again, you can use the regular mag that comes with this, and then put stripper clips in the top of it. So one time you're actually using the terminology clips and firearms. They slide right in from the top. You fit 10. Okay, folks, while we're on the subject of the magazines, there are two major reasons why this Simonoff SKS did not stay in production and was replaced by the AK-47. The two main reasons why were, one, that the SKS was not designed to be fully automatic, and the second being that the SKS was not designed with a detachable magazine originally. Now we have detachable magazines, okay, so for the real world, now we have detachable magazines, and we can't, for the most part, without the right licensing, use fully automatic anyway. So this is one of the reasons why the SKS is absolutely so nice still today. Because now we have detachable magazines, and most of us are shooting semi-automatic AKs anyway. And they're all milled, there's no stamping. The price you're going to pay as of 2012, if you can find one now, is at least in this model, a Yugo, $300. Short story, about 20 years or more ago, my first rifle was an SKS. It was Chinese. It did not have the bayonet or the grenade launcher on it, and I paid $35 for it used. And unfortunately, many years ago, about 10 years ago, I ended up coming on rough times and I sold it for $200. I had been regretting that sale ever since, and someone told me long ago, when you get a firearm, never sell it. And I didn't quite know the value of what the person was telling me then, Now I do. There are some things that you may not appreciate about a firearm until you don't have it, or when current day comes, there are features that your older rifle or handgun for that matter had on it or did not have on it, safety features mainly, that you cannot get today. And I would advise that to you all too. Once you have a firearm, if you liked it enough to bought it, then keep it. Don't sell it. I had to turn around and purchase this for $300 years later. And one of the main reasons I bought this was just to fill that space that had been just eating a hole at me for all these years that I had to sell it. And I never wanted to. And a lot of people think that SKSs are just for people that don't have AKs or can't get them. That is not true necessarily. And I had purchased this Saiga AK long before this purchase of the Zastava M5966A1 with night sights. And I basically got this firearm because I wanted it. And sometimes you just pay for what you want. One other side note is that a lot of people take the stock off and get a Tapco pistol grip, either stock or kit. If you're familiar with AKs, you might be more familiar with the, I think it's R22 or R922 compliance. You actually can go out of compliance just by putting the pistol grip stock on. They make a kit that's a complete kit with enough US aftermarket parts on it to where you stay compliant. It's only a few dollars more. So definitely check that out and be careful with your SKSs and your compliancy. I guess that's about it, guys. And let me just show you up close. Alright, so that's it. That's my review of the SKS Yugoslavian. And I thank you all for tuning in to the Rums Living channel. Y'all have a great day.